Global debt has passed $315 trillion. The US dollar is still the world's lifeline, but that lifeline is turning into a noose. This is the Dollar Milkshake Theory, a macro framework that explains why the dollar keeps rising, even as the system cracks. And it also reveals why nations and investors are beginning to look at Bitcoin. Welcome to Plugged In Crypto, where we break down ideas, charts, and news. The Dollar Milkshake Theory was coined by Brent Johnson of Santiago Capital. Picture a global milkshake of liquidity: dollars, euros, yen, renminbi. The United States has the longest straw. When crises hit, capital flees into US assets, treasuries, dollars, Wall Street. That's why the dollar keeps rising even when the Fed hikes rates and inflation runs hot. But the same forces starve emerging markets. Countries loaded with dollar-denominated debt see repayments spiral. In the last decade, Sri Lanka defaulted in 2022. Turkey's lira collapsed. Argentina's peso lost 99% of its value. This isn't theory, it's happening now. Today, US debt is surging past $35 trillion, yet the dollar is still king. The dollar's dominance is a double-edged sword. On one hand, it gives Washington enormous power: sanctions, trade leverage, the ability to export inflation. On the other, the global economy is drowning in dollar debt. When the Fed tightens, the pain radiates worldwide. In 2025, US interest payments are projected to surpass defense spending. That's not just a line item, it's a warning light. Global central banks are reacting. China and Russia are pushing trade in local currencies. BRICS nations announced new cross-border settlement experiments. Even allies like France have settled LNG trades in yuan. But here's the paradox. Every attempt to de-dollarize requires holding some dollars to backstop flows. The milkshake keeps being sucked back to the US. Investors are caught in the middle. Hold dollars and you're safe, for now. Hold weaker currencies and you're wrecked. And that's where the Bitcoin adaptation emerges. Think of Bitcoin as a second straw in the milkshake. Instead of only the dollar vacuuming liquidity, Bitcoin siphons off value whenever trust in both weak currencies and US solvency breaks down. Bitcoin wasn't designed as a hedge against inflation alone. It was designed as money without masters. Not by replacing the dollar tomorrow, but by providing neutral settlement that isn't weaponized by Washington or Beijing. Scarcity. 21 million supply cap, no central bank printing. Portability. Move $1 billion across borders in 10 minutes. Already, we see adoption where currencies collapse fastest. Argentina's informal dollar economy is also seeing Bitcoin usage. Nigeria has some of the world's highest peer-to-peer Bitcoin volumes. El Salvador made Bitcoin legal tender, an imperfect rollout but precedent set. The milkshake theory says the dollar vacuum will intensify until something breaks. The breakpoint comes when global trust in both weak currencies and US solvency cracks. Bitcoin then isn't a hedge, it's a release valve for the entire system. The dollar milkshake theory explains why the US dollar stays dominant even as America drowns in its own debt. But every straw eventually cracks. Whether it takes 5 years or 20, the system's fragility is growing, and Bitcoin stands ready, not as a challenger today, but as the escape hatch when the milkshake spills. Please subscribe to Plugged In Crypto and stay plugged in.